I didn't know so much about HUSSEIN BARGHOUTI, but I found some poems on the internet, and I seeked high and low, and I found a lot of information, I think. And I found this great poet, and here is his son. Very sadly, his father died in 2002. Not an old man, and but he grew up in Kobar. Is that correct?
Kobar.
Kobar. Is that where you live?
Yes.
Yes. Where is that?
It's for those who know Palestine. It's about 5 minutes from Birzeit. It's one of the villages near Ramallah, the city of Ramallah.
Yes. And when I read the poems, I at once understood that this was a very scholared man, that he had a lot of education in literature, because he takes from the big stories, the three religions, the book religions. He takes from world literature, and he combines sort of the old stories, very old stories, with the people of Palestine today, and that's poetry. It's beautiful. And what do you think about his poetry? Can you describe it for us?
Well, Hussein kind of started a new school in Arabic poetry by kind of reconstructing the way poetry works, and not always using rhythmic poetry, because all Arabic poetry throughout its history has been mainly focused on the rhythm and like being nice to hear, like a kind of songwriting. And so sometimes in his poems you can hear a certain rhythm, but other times there's no rhythm at all, just the words that kind of express a certain thought or feeling and a new philosophy. And it's also it can be the gate to a whole new school of art, because it wasn't just poetry, it was also novels and biography. He also wrote songs, and he translated plays, but kind of with rewriting the whole plays.
He translated Shakespeare.
Yes, he translated Shakespeare and kind of translated it to like a modern Arabic, kind of like not literal translation, but translation so it can fit this time.
But the text or the poem we just heard, The Ninth Mirror.
Yes.
I had to go into my papers. He says in another poem, because he goes into the dark, and in another poem he says, "Do not guide me to the moonlit path. The guided must walk the path of the guide. Each must forge his own path. Guide me to the truth and leave me silent like the mountains of Galilee. My search is for my soul, regardless of the end, whether a kiss or the guillotine." Is that make any reflection on the poem or the text I read, do you think?
This poem? Okay, the text you just heard, it's an extract from a book called Liquid Mirrors, and it's called Mirror 9, and of course there are mirrors 1 to 9, and then there's -1, and there are all these different poems put together in one book, and they're kind of a story. So what you heard, maybe it's like the most suitable one to present alone. And yeah.
Yeah. But it's a sort of open end when he goes into the dark, because he has in another book he talks about the third riverbank, where the poets sort of live. Yeah.
It's about artists in general.
Yeah.
The title of the novel is The Third Bank of the Jordan River, which explains that there is no third bank to the Jordan River. And he meant by that some people live in the first bank, which is homeland, and the second bank is exile. And some people who are artists, they live their whole lives in the third bank, which is maybe inside themselves, or in their hearts or souls.
There is a story where he is walking. He is going from Kobar to another village, and he loses his way.
Yes.
And he comes back to Kobar, I think, and he doesn't recognize his village.
It was kind of a state of mind that he used to get, which is losing all like orientation and knowledge of where he was at that moment. And he explained that on the way back to his village, he lost the way, and he said that this used to be my road, but now it's just a road, and I can see the actual presence of the road and the trees, because this is not my tree, this is a tree, and it's not even a tree because tree is what humans call it. And when you remove the name from your mind and you just look at it and feel the presence, that's the actual presence of the tree, without all these names that humans give it, the tree, or my road, or my house, or my country, or my earth. You know.
That's very beautiful. It's I was very moved when I read this. There is a description of him by Hussein Barghouthi, as you said, was a distant relative. He's a Palestinian writer. He's written a book called I Was Born Here, I Was Born There. And there he describes your father, the mountains of Kobar, its valleys and almond groves, as well as the streets of Ramallah and the corridors of the university, knew Hussein al-Barghouthi by his long hair, falling in curls around his exceptionally beautiful face, and also by his smile, his simple sandals and his unkempt clothes, consisting usually of t-shirt and shorts. The cafes knew him from gatherings at which he sat surrounded by students of his who loved literature and poetry and admired his writings and personality. So I'm sort of getting a picture of him. I think maybe we should read the next poem, The Metamorphosis.